James,
Awesome.
pass it over to you.
Awesome. So yeah, I'm James Stanfield, coordinator of ESPN Productions. My credentials include editing for 15 years, and I'm 22, so do the math.
And being in my class.
Yeah, I did.
Class.
I did take her classes,
That's right.
and graduated in 2021, fall of 21. So I came right back to work here, and here I am. I get to pass the knowledge. So with Premiere, so everybody's dropped their footage onto their computer. Everybody's dropped their footage on the computer, and then you know where it is. Awesome. So your screens, okay, no, don't worry about it. So we have Premiere open here. So there's a button that says New Project. Does yours say New Project? Okay. Feel free to follow along. It would help because we're going to try to export this as soon as the class is over today, or hopefully before, so I can get this submitted in time. At the top left, at the top left, you're going to see a box where it says Project Name. You're going to name that something that you know, so you're not like me and your projects are named Untitled, Untitled 2, Untitled 3. Don't do that. So I'm going to name mine. I'm going to give mine today's date.
Maybe Premiere Practice, something like that.
Yours can be Premiere Practice. Mine's just going to be today's date and tutorial session 2 because this is the second time I've done this today. Over on the right-hand side of your window, you're going to see a thing that says Create New Sequence. You're going to untick that box. So just like how you see it on my screen, the little line is not blue. And I'll get to the reason why you want to do that here in a bit. So if everybody's ready, we're going to go click Create on the bottom right. So untick Create New Sequence here on the right-hand side, and then Create on the bottom right. So from here, this might look a little intimidating, but I promise you, you will get the hang of it within the next 10-15 minutes or so. You're going to find where your footage is. So in this case, I already have it on my desktop computer. Just a little note, you want to, say your footage is on an SD card, you shot with the big cameras. If your footage is on the SD card, you want to stick it in your computer, copy it from the SD card to the computer that you are editing with, and as soon as you import it onto the computer, safely remove it and keep it in a safe place. You don't know, if you leave it in your computer and you edit off of the card, something might happen with the computer. It might blue screen if it's a Windows computer, or it might just die if it's a Mac, and you may lose your card. You don't want that because that card is the only other place where you have that footage. And don't leave the footage on these computers. Always take it with you, because we don't want you leaving your personal data on these lab computers. So every night at midnight, all these computers are wiped clean. So always bring the footage with you, whether it be external hard drive or use your OneDrive. You got 2 terabytes of OneDrive space, so take advantage of it and use it. So after that, after you've loaded it onto the computer, you'll select it. And there's 2 ways you can do this. I'll show you the simplest way is you select all of them from your Finder window, and you're just going to click and drag it all into this Import Media to start here at the bottom left. And if you have already imported it, I see one of you have already imported it, that is one step ahead. So you'll just drag and drop all the footage into this bin down here. And if I'm going too fast for anybody, just let me know. I will slow down.
And I can come and help.
And she can assist as well. So, excuse me. What we are going to do now is we're going to place our first piece of footage onto the timeline. So we're just going to click and drag from here, from the project bin, and onto the timeline. And the reason why we want to do it like that is so our timeline is now conformed to our footage. So I shot this on a camera with a very weird resolution at a very high frame rate. So my sequence now is at that same resolution in that same frame rate. And from here we can do whatever we want to do. This is the most fun part of using this software, is that you are free to put this wherever you want to. So we're going to start now. We're going to trim this clip. So I want to find where I want to start this clip. So I'm going to click and drag this little blue thing. This is your playhead. I'm going to click and drag this playhead to where I think the footage should start. I want the footage to start right as the building's coming into frame. So right there, about right there. Then, on the timeline where we dropped our clip earlier, I'm going to put my cursor on the left side of that clip, where you can see that I have a little red bar. That is an indication that you're ready to trim it, and you're ready to trim it and grab it. So I'm going to hold down my left click, and then I'm going to drag it to where my playhead is. If your Premiere is set up correctly, your trim should latch itself to that playhead, and you have the perfect cut. So now my footage starts right where I grabbed that. Now you see at the beginning here, I have this little gap. I have this like 1 second gap of black here. I don't want my sequence to start out in the void. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to move this clip back by clicking, holding, and dragging it back to the very start. Now my sequence doesn't start in the void and doesn't magically pop back into existence. Now I want to trim this clip. So there are a couple ways that we can trim this clip. I'll show you both of them. One way is you can do it like how I trimmed the beginning, is we can trim the end and bring the end back inward. We can grab it by the handle at the end and move it inward. What I'm going to do is I'm going to show you the razor tool. So I am going to find where I want this to cut. I'm going to drag it to exactly 5 seconds. And then right here, to the left of your timeline, you're going to see all these little icons here. You'll click the razor tool. If you want to edit with your keyboard, you can hit C on your keyboard. And now you have the razor tool selected. So, now that with my razor tool selected, I've moved my playhead to where I want to chop this footage. Ignore the ungodly noise coming from the footage. And now I'm going to click where the blue line is with my razor tool. And there's my cut. And after you make your first cut, you can go back to your selection tool or hit V on the keyboard. That's for your selection tool.
Always go back to that arrow, sorry.
You're fine. You're fine. Your selection tool, unless you're making many cuts in a row, you're always going to be on your selection tool. The last way that we can trim footage here is if you find the piece of footage in your project bin. So this is the next one I'm going to use. I'm going to double click that, and it's going to open in the source window or preview window on the left-hand side. This is useful if your timeline is very cluttered, so you can trim this exactly to length through the source preview window. So I'm going to do the same thing that I did earlier and find where I want to start this clip. So I start moving right about here, and that's where I want to start it. So I found where I want to start this clip in this window on the left. Excuse me. And then I'm going to hit I on my keyboard. That stands for in. So I've selected my in point. Everybody got their in point? Now we're going to find my out point. And because I'm very particular, I am going to find 5 seconds later in this clip and select my out point. Ignore the ungodly noise coming from this. And I found my out point. Now, I'm going to quiz the class. What button do you think we're going to hit on the keyboard to select our out point? Oh, yes. Very good. Very good. This is 6 seconds. I'm going to trim it back 1 second because I'm particular. Perfect. So now that we've trimmed our clip in the source monitor, now what we're going to do is we're going to take this clip and we're going to drag it from the project bin onto the timeline, and we already have a pre-cut clip. So on my timeline, I have this 5 second clip at the very start, and then I have the rest of it just sitting right here. I'm going to delete it. So backspace, delete, whatever it is on these Mac keyboards, it's delete. And now I have this big black void here that I don't want. To bring that back together, we're just going to right-click in that void and click Ripple Delete. Void gone.
Hi, James from the future here. Something I forgot to mention because I accidentally turned my microphone off during this portion of the session was going over a clip that is too small or too big for your project size. Now what you can do with this is you can right-click the clip on the timeline and click Scale to Frame Size. It makes your clip big enough to fit inside the program window without any black bars on the top, bottom, or sides.
Okay, so in what we're going to do today is we are going to start off this sequence with natural sound. So we're going to use this bar here, and we're going to expand our audio track by dragging this up so we can see this middle gray line in the audio track. Yeah, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to find 2 seconds into my first clip here, so it's about right there. I'm going to use my razor tool, and I'm going to make a slice right here 2 seconds into my first clip. For you, are your clips 3 seconds? I would do it in the first 1 second of the clip, since yours are shorter. And right here on my second clip, I'm going to take this bar and I'm going to move it down. This is your volume bar for the clip. So you click and hold it and then you drag it down. And I'm going to lower the volume for every clip after this one. So we have our first one that's normal volume and then our second one that's lower volume. Yeah. You still want some audio. You don't want to bring it all the way down because all the way down is mute. We want to still have some there. At this point, your level should kind of sound about like this, where it just suddenly drops. Now we're going to make this drop a little less of a sudden cavern, more a nice gradual volume reduction. So, do y'all have the? Is there an effects window down here on the bottom left? Do you guys see that? Does anything that say effects? No, I don't see it. So everybody's going to go to Window at the top and go to Effects and make sure that is checked. And you should see a little effects window pop up in the lower left. So we have our effect window open. We're going to go to the arrow to the left, audio transitions. We're going to drop that folder down. Then we're going to drop the crossfade folder down. And for this one, we're going to use constant power. So we'll use the constant power one. And then whenever y'all are ready, we're going to take that, click hold, and then you're going to drag it to your first audio cut right here. We're going to smack it right there in the middle between the two cuts. So when you go back and listen to your audio, it should sound something like this, where you have that gradual decrease in volume. Just like that. Now we're ready to record a voiceover, now that we've got our audio track, our natural sound, we've dipped it. So we're going to place our playhead right in the middle of that transition. So if you guys are using these lab computers, it should be set for default to use the built-in mic. If you're using an external recording device, like you're in our podcast studio and you're recording voiceover in there, you might have to refer back to the recording of this, but I'll go ahead and show you. You'll go to, on Macs, it'll be the Adobe Premiere Pro at the very top, the bold text. If you're on Windows, it'll be on Edit. You'll go to Preferences and Audio Hardware. And a window like this will pop up. Just make sure your input is whatever it's supposed to be. On these, it'll be system default. And your default output, you want it to be the speakers or the headphones that you're using. You don't want to change anything right now on your computers, but it's like say you're doing it in the podcast studio where we do have microphones you might have to look at this before you do your voiceover. Otherwise, you might get some really bad audio. So now that we've changed that and made sure it's changed, we're ready to record our voiceover.
You're recording on audio too, right?
Yeah, we will record on audio 2 for this purpose. So if you can see the little microphone icon on your audio 2 track, just hold your mouse above it and don't click it yet. I'm going to show you something very important, especially if you're using speakers to edit and do your voiceover stuff. Do this. Mute it. Because Premiere will feed it back to you, and you don't want that. So I would go ahead and mute your computer's F10 on the keyboard. Make sure after you get done recording your voiceover, you unmute so you can listen. And I'll go ahead and demonstrate right here. I'll go ahead and click on the button. You wait. I wouldn't click on it yet, but I'll just demonstrate what it does. You click on it. It gives you a 3-second countdown. And now I'm recording my voiceover. This is the exterior of Prather Coliseum where the Northwestern State University Demons are going to face the University of Louisiana Monroe Warhawks here today on this day. And then when you're done recording your voiceover, you're just going to stop it. Hit space or the little stop box right here that'll pop up, and you've just recorded your voiceover. This audio, we have bars up here, we have a waveform up here, but we don't have a waveform down here. But that's because the little box that I'm recording into only records in mono, which means it's only on one side rather than two. So you have mono, which is 1, stereo, which is 2 channels. I'm going to show you real quick 2 ways to fix this. We're going to go to Effects here, and we're going to search up Fill. And we have 2 things right here. We have Fill Left with Right, and we have Fill Right with Left. The right channel is dead. We want to put whatever's in left, and we put it into right. So we're going to use Fill Right channel with left. So pay attention to my audio meters on the right here. So when I play back this voiceover,
and now I'm recording my
you can
voiceover.
see that it's only on the left side.
When
I put Fill Right with left in, it's in both sides now. The other way to do it is to right-click this clip, go to Audio Channels, and we want to map the right channel with the left channel's audio. So we'll find the right row and click the left column. And then when you click OK, you know you've done it right when you see bars pop up visually on both the top and the bottom.
Warhawks.
That's the way that I do it, because you have a lot more flexibility if you're like me and you have 900 audio tracks. When you record your voiceover, when you're ready to get the audio levels in the post, you want your audio levels for your voiceover to be somewhere in between -6 and -18. You want it to average somewhere in that range. So if it's too loud, you do what you did earlier and bring it down. If it's too soft, you'll bring it up. Don't bring it up too high. Because if you see these red boxes right here, if you see these red boxes here, do the complete opposite of what you just did. Turn it down. Because if you see those red boxes and you export that, you're going to get really bad audio. So you never want to make sure it goes above -0. So keep it in that -6 to -18 range. And yeah, that's about it. So I think you're all ready to. I think we're ready to get them recording their voiceover.
30 seconds to record their voice.
Yeah, sure.
Oh, yours ready? Okay.
All right, so everybody, Premiere has some essential graphics templates that you can use for making a very quick and dirty, or if you want to, a very quick and clean lower third. So we're going to do the same thing that we did earlier to bring up our effects window. We're going to go to Window, and then we're going to go to Essential Graphics. I've already done that. Yours should pop up on the very right side. Yeah, it pop-ups on the right side. So in this little search box right here, I typed in lower and hit enter, and that gives me plenty of lower thirds that I can use. Yeah, so right here, I found the one that I want to use, classic lower third 2 lines. I'm going to click that from here and then drag that to where I want to pop it. So I kind of want to pop mine right here. You can pop yours wherever you want to, but I'll just pop mine right here for now. You'll put it on the layer above your main video.
This edit.
Right, it depends on your template, but mine, when I click on it, it'll bring up my Essential Graphics Edit tab, and I'm going to double click on insert name here and just start typing. I'm just going to use this as like a locator, so I'm just going to type in Prather Coliseum, and then on the bottom one, same thing, I'm just going to type in Northwestern State University.
How did you get there so they know? Because you did that so fast. Usually
Yeah.
people just
So
put it up on the screen. You did it a different way than
I just clicked on mine on the timeline, and it popped up the edit tab in my essentials graphic. Your pop will be on the right. I moved mine.
I know, this is frustrating.
For those of you asking how to change the template, I don't use the templates in Premiere, so I'm not familiar with them. I make my own stuff in Photoshop and then bring it over. So this is what my sequence looks like. Yours will look different because of the matter of what you shot. I'll unmute it so you can hear.
Voiceover. This is the exterior of Prather Coliseum where the Northwestern State University Demons are going to face the University of Louisiana Monroe Warhawks here today on this day.
Yeah. So what we're going to do now is I'll show you dissolves. So you'll go to your same effects window, video transitions, dissolves. Now there's plenty of dissolves here. You can play around with all these dissolves if you want to. We're going to use a simple cross dissolve today since we're just going to cross dissolve into the void. I want to take this cross dissolve and I'm going to bookend it to the end of this last clip. And so that will give the effect of this video
It'll fade out at the end.
dipping to black. Proper export, so what you'll do is you'll click somewhere in this timeline. Right way to do it, File at the top, and go to Export, Media.
Everybody there? Export media? Good.
And it'll bring you to this screen. Actually, wait, we forgot the most important step. Before you go back to your edit.
Oh.
Save. Save. You see how easy it was for me to forget it? If somebody of 15 years with editing experience is going to forget to save, trust me, it's going to happen. So save. Command S on Mac, Control S on Windows, File Save if you want to click it manually. My hand is fine, if anybody's curious. Now we're going to go back to that Export tab after we've saved it. We're going to change the file name to something that we're going to recognize. I'm going to change mine to Delivery 2 because this is the second one I've done today. We've changed the name of it. We've selected where we want to save it by clicking this text in the green line here. Blue, I'm not colorblind, I promise. We're going to click that blue line and then we're going to find a place. We're going to find a place to save it. So I'm going to save it in this tutorial folder that I made on my desktop. So after you've found a place to save it, do not click export just yet. We're going to make these settings proper. So we're going to make it to where when you export this, it doesn't take up 7,000 gigabytes, but it still looks good. So we're going to go to this video tab right here. We're going to click the drop down, go to this more. Now, I'll probably send this out later, but if you're doing a 1080p project, you'll want your bit rate to be 16. So you'll scroll down to where it says bitrate settings, this little sliding bar right here, go to the number, click it, and then just type 16 in that box. And then after you've set your video bitrate, you'll go select your audio bitrate, so you'll drop the audio menu down. And then where it says bitrate settings, there's a drop-down menu right here that says 320. That's where we want it to be. This is a good check. After you set your audio bit rate, you're good to do an export. Yeah. All right, well, I'm about to end this recording. So if anybody has any questions, feel free to reach out to me. I'm sure Ms. Gilbert will send out my contact information.
Can we thank James for all of this? Thank you.
And hope you all have learned something.